The night my sister's engagement party turned into a nightmare. Nobody expected the bride-to-be to be accused of stealing from our own father, least of all the 200 relatives and friends gathered beneath the crystal lights of the Rosemont Conservatory in Chicago. I had spent months being treated like the difficult daughter because I kept asking questions about Dad's finances. But when the event coordinator suddenly announced that the venue's final payment had bounced and my sister's fiancé turned toward me with a folder of documents, I realized the questions I had been asking were finally about to receive answers. My father, Everett Hale, had suffered a severe stroke the previous year, leaving him unable to speak normally but perfectly capable of understanding conversations, remembering dates, and communicating through a tablet that converted his typed words into speech. While my sister Marissa handled what she called the easy paperwork, I became the person driving Dad to appointments, organizing medication schedules, and paying the household bills from the account he had created specifically for his rehabilitation expenses. One afternoon, while reviewing a stack of bank statements, I noticed several payments labeled as medical transportation that had been sent to a private event company in another state, and the discovery bothered me enough that I photographed every page before putting the documents back exactly where I had found them. When I asked Marissa about the payments, she laughed and accused me of becoming obsessed with Dad's money, insisting that everything had been approved and that I should stop acting like his personal detective. Dad watched the argument from his recliner, then typed something into his tablet that made my stomach tighten. I did not approve those. I asked him whether he wanted me to investigate, and after several seconds of struggling with the keyboard, he typed 3 more words that changed everything. Find the truth. Of confronting Marissa again, I quietly contacted an independent financial advocate named Nora Bennett, who specialized in protecting vulnerable adults from financial abuse, and understood that accusations without documentation could destroy an entire family. Nora reviewed the statements and discovered that the suspicious payments were connected to companies involved in wedding photography, luxury transportation, jewelry deposits, and a private event planner, all expenses that appeared to have nothing to do with Dad's recovery. She warned me not to accuse anyone yet and told me, if someone is innocent, records will prove it, but if someone is hiding something, records eventually become their worst enemy. The deeper we looked, the stranger the pattern became, because small transfers had begun nearly a year earlier and gradually increased after Marissa announced her engagement to Caleb Mercer, a successful real estate developer who seemed genuinely unaware of where much of the wedding money was coming from. Nora also discovered that several transactions had been disguised as payments for physical therapy equipment, while the actual vendors had never supplied Dad with anything, and the bank records showed that the money eventually moved into accounts connected to Marissa's personal credit cards. When Dad saw the evidence, his hands trembled as he typed. She told me it was paperwork for my house, and for the first time I understood that my sister had not merely taken money. She had deliberately used Dad's trust against him. 2 weeks before the wedding, Nora arranged a formal meeting with Dad, an independent physician, a notary, and the bank's safeguarding officer so nobody could later claim that I had influenced his decisions. Dad answered every question through his tablet, confirmed that he understood his finances, and formally revoked Marissa's authority over his accounts before signing a new arrangement that required 2 independent approvals for every major withdrawal. When the bank notified Marissa that her access had been suspended, she called me screaming that I had destroyed her wedding, but I answered only one question before ending the call. If the money was legitimate, why are you afraid of an audit? Caleb called me the next morning, sounding confused and embarrassed, because the wedding venue had sent him a notice saying that nearly $40,000 in outstanding charges were tied to an account bearing Everett Hale's name. He admitted that Marissa had told him Dad wanted to make one final gift before the wedding, and I told him that if he wanted the truth, he should stop listening to promises and start examining invoices. That evening, Caleb opened the shared wedding planning folder, discovered altered receipts and unexplained transfers, and quietly canceled a portion of the ceremony expenses before asking me to attend the rehearsal dinner because he believed the entire wedding was built on a lie. The rehearsal dinner was tense from the moment I arrived, but Marissa greeted everyone with a bright smile and acted as though nothing had happened, even placing me at a distant table while Dad was seated beside her beneath a floral arch. During dinner, she leaned toward me and whispered, "You always wanted to be the responsible daughter, so enjoy your little victory." And I replied, "This isn't about winning. It's about making sure Dad's money pays for Dad's life." She rolled her eyes, but then Dad lifted his tablet and typed a sentence that he deliberately displayed for everyone nearby. "I want my money used for my care, not a wedding." The following afternoon, Caleb met Nora and me at the bank, where an investigator revealed that the situation was far larger than anyone had realized, because more than $100,000 had been withdrawn through transactions disguised as medical expenses. Several login records placed the account activity on Marissa's personal laptop, while security footage from the bank showed her visiting the branch on multiple occasions, and one particularly damaging email contained her instructions to a vendor to avoid mentioning the word wedding on any invoice. Then the investigator revealed something even worse. A final transfer had been scheduled for the morning of the wedding, apparently intended to cover the remaining venue balance, but the bank had frozen it before the money could leave Dad's account. On the wedding day, I almost stayed home, but Dad sent me a message through his tablet that simply read, "Please come, but bring the truth." I arrived at the conservatory with no gift, no speech, and no intention of ruining anyone's celebration. Yet before the ceremony could begin, Caleb pulled me into an empty hallway and showed me an email proving that Marissa had told him the money came directly from Dad as a voluntary wedding present. I told him Dad had already documented the opposite, and Caleb stood silently for several seconds before saying, "Then she didn't just lie to you, she built our entire marriage around a lie." During the reception, Marissa noticed Caleb speaking with the investigator and rushed toward us, demanding that everyone stop discussing finances, but Dad's tablet suddenly announced his decision in a clear electronic voice. "I want everyone to know." The room fell silent as Dad explained that he had never authorized the wedding expenses, never promised Marissa an inheritance, and had been frightened to speak because he believed confronting her would destroy the family. When Marissa accused me of manipulating him, Dad typed one final sentence and held the screen toward the crowd. "My daughter did not tell me what to say. She helped me say what I already knew." That was when Caleb removed his wedding ring and placed it on the table, telling Marissa that he could forgive mistakes, but could not build a life with someone who had stolen from a disabled parent, and then blamed everyone else for discovering it. The authorities later completed the investigation and found approximately $137,000 missing from Dad's accounts, including money that had been intended for home modifications, therapy, medical equipment, and long-term care, while Marissa's carefully constructed story collapsed under bank records, vendor communications, computer logs, and her own messages. She eventually accepted responsibility in court, was ordered to repay the stolen funds, and lost the legal ability to manage another person's finances, while Caleb ended the marriage before it had truly begun. Months later, Dad moved into a bright assisted living apartment where every major decision belonged to him again, and I accepted a promotion at work while launching a small consulting service that helped families organize medical finances and protect relatives who struggled to communicate after serious illnesses. Marissa's betrayal permanently changed our family, but it also taught me that protecting someone does not always mean fighting the loudest person in the room. Sometimes it means patiently collecting facts, giving a vulnerable person a voice, and refusing to let guilt convince you that doing the right thing is somehow an act of cruelty. One evening, Dad and I sat beside his window watching the city lights come alive, and his tablet spoke the words I had waited months to hear. "Thank you for believing me," to which I simply held his hand and answered, "You never needed me to speak for you, Dad. You only needed someone willing to listen." Subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.